Alright guys, today is Monday, January 30th, 2023, and today marks 16 days I have left to finish my 55 for Starbird's car show. Does that make my butt look big when I have that on? Alright guys, so it's pretty much down to the wire. 2 weeks and 2 days left, and that is up into Wednesday night, which I'm assuming Thursday is probably the day I'm going to have to take the car to the show to get it put in the building and set up and all that for the show, because the show's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So what I had to do this morning was come out and try to figure out if I needed to order a couple of parts, because I wasn't sure if it was all going to work out with what I was trying to do, and it's going to end up working out. So now after I get done with this video, I've got to go in there and order some parts from H&H Classic Chevy. So I'm going to run you guys through that. So what I'm trying to figure out is the trunk stuff for my design of the trunk upholstery that I'm going to do. So it's going to be dark back here. You're not going to be able to see nothing. It's almost everything's black. So what I'm doing is I've got these panels here. There'll be one on each side, and they're going to go in here. And then I've got to cut one out that's going to go all the way across the back of the trunk here. So it's going to have a walled off. It's going to have a wall there. So you're not going to be able to see the amp subs, the battery, none of that stuff. It's just going to be completely walled off. And what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting these panels to match my interior. So on a 55 Chevy Bel Air, the door panels have stainless steel trim, and Bel Air is different from 210. So anyway, you can see the trim on that rear panel back there. It's separating the black vinyl on top and the gray straw cloth material on the bottom. So the door panel one will meet that one, and then it curves downward up here toward the front, and there's a little bitty V, and then the other piece goes straight up. Or not straight up, but it goes up at an angle, and it's just straight. It's not curved. So what I had done a long time ago is I had gathered up some stainless steel Bel Air door panel trim from a 55 4-door. Now 4-doors have shorter doors than a 2-door, so this trim is going to be shorter, which is perfect for this. So this is kind of the layout that I'm going to do here. So all this stainless trim that I have for the trunk is really nice. There's no dents, there's no dings, there's no deep gouges. So all I got to do is just sand this with a couple of high grades of paper and then just take it straight to buff. So anyway, all the pieces that I've got out, I've already straightened all the tabs on. All the tabs are still good. But anyway, this trim on these cars, it has a rolled edge on it, but when it's an end that's visible, it's rounded off, so it looks nice. But when they done them when they made this stuff, if it went into this V down here, they just lopped it off on the end. So this goes down inside the V, so you don't see the lopped off end, you just see the smooth rounded end on the top. But that is pretty much what that'll look like, and of course I'll have to, when I figure out exactly where I'm placing this, I'm going to cut it to where it's perfectly the length it needs to be. So this is the side panel. So this is where the V will be. And the other problem that I was having was I have a long piece of door panel stainless here, which is the identical stuff to that. I think this was on the lower Bel Air door panel. But anyway, it's identical trim, size, shape, and everything. But anyway, this is not long enough to go all the way across the back on the wall in the back that I'm making, because the wall's a lot longer. So I kind of dug around in my shed a little bit, and I figured out what I'm going to do. So I tried to draw it here, so you'll have to excuse the chicken scratch here. So here is the side panel right here that you're seeing here. And then this is the stainless steel trim right here going up. So for the wall that I'm building, I wanted stainless trim to meet up to the end of that trim that I'm putting on the side piece. But I don't want to just cut it off. I don't want it just lopped off, because you might be able to see it if you get up in there and look. So I wanted these round ends, but I'm going to put them right up to the edge, like right up to it. Because of the upholstery that's on here, this is going to be black Alante and this is going to be the gray straw cloth. So that's going to be perfect to hide the two different materials when I put them together. It's a two-tone break. So anyway, with that trim, this long piece not being long enough to go all the way across, I decided to build a door. So this big piece is basically the back wall, and then I decided to cut out a rectangle piece in it and that's going to be a removable door. And what that's going to do is allow me to get in there and access the battery cables or the cutoff switch or amp or whatever I need to mess with. So doing it this way, I got away with a couple of things. So I have these little pieces here that came out of a four-door sedan. And on a four-door, there's a little short upholstered panel that goes just underneath the little quarter window on a four-door. That's where that goes. So some cars have longer ones than this, but I only had a pair of these. I've only got one of the one that's a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is make these on the ends right here. So doing these on each end will allow me to stretch that trim out so it will be long enough. And they have the rounded ends on each end, so it'll be a perfect brake. So they're going to butt up just like that. So to me, it'll look nice because it has a nice rolled edge instead of just lopping them off, and you might be able to see the cut, you know what I mean? But anyway, on the center piece for the removable door, I've got this lower piece and it has rounded ends on both ends, and I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm probably going to have to cut more than just in half. I might have to section it a little bit, but I'm going to use a crest right in the middle of that, and that way I can cut this off, and I'm going to put that trim, I'll use this one for an example, I'm going to cut this trim at the exact angle that that crest is right there so it will butt up to it perfectly. So I'm basically going to cut that end like a 45 like this is. That way it'll be right up there. But I'm going to make it go straight to the top edge of that. So that crest will be in the center, and it'll work as a two-tone brake as well, but it's a little bit of detail. So there's a crest right in the center. Now, 55 Chevys had chrome bezels and crests. They had one on the center of the hood in the front, and they had one in the trunk. They are very large and they're really thick chrome bezels. So if you're going to put one of them on a flat panel, you need the one from the trunk because the trunk one's flat. The ones on the hood are curved, and the worst part is on a 55, the one that goes on the trunk has part of the bottom has a notch in it for your fingers to go in, so when you open your trunk, that's what you put your fingers under to open the trunk lid. I didn't want those finger notches in there. So, but also that bezel's way too big. So the whole crest is bigger. This is like 7-inch, and a 55 one's probably about that much longer and about like that. So anyway, the thickness of a 55 one's probably about yay thick. But anyway, this one in particular is perfect, and I'm glad I had this here to use for mock-up. This is from a 56 Chevy Bel Air, and this is the trunk one, and it is perfectly flat. So this will be perfect for two reasons. It's flat, and it doesn't have the little notch under there like a trunk crest, but also the thickness of that is almost the identical thickness of this stainless trim. So to me, this is going to be absolutely perfect. Now I can't use this one. It is pitted all to heck, so I'm going to go in there to H&H's website. I've already got it pulled up and looking at the parts. This little dude right here is almost 70 bucks for this little emblem. So I've got it in the cart, and I'm going to go ahead and get 2 new dome light lenses for these dome lights. Now this is an original set from a 55 hardtop. In case you don't know, the 55 Chevy 2-door hardtop, the Sport Coupe models, have 3 chrome bows in the roof and the little corner dome lights. In 56 and 7 hardtops, they had one big dome light in the center. They didn't have chrome bows, and they didn't have the little corner lights. So that's unique only to 55 hardtop. Now these little dome lights are the same ones that go in Nomads all 3 years up here on the B-pillar. So I have a used original set here, and these are not in good shape. The chrome on this one's not too bad. It's just really dull. It ain't going to polish. This one here's got quite a few pits in it. So I'm going to blast these with my blaster, and then I'm going to prime them and then hand sand to smooth them out. And I'm going to paint them black. And I'm going to install those right about in here somewhere in this area of the V, like right in the center. And so that'll be perfect on each side to have trunk light. And I thought that would be really, really kind of neat. So from H&H, I've got to order a new crest, and I've got to order 2 new dome light lenses. And those stupid lenses are $8 a piece. But anyway, for my car, when I bought the new lenses, I got the custom bright white. Originally they were like a cream color, so I got the bright white because it makes it a little bit brighter. So I want them to match, so I'm getting the same exact ones for the trunk. So Anyway, that's how I'm setting the trunk up. It'll be two-toned upholstery, black and the gray straw cloth, and I just think it'll look fantastic. Now on the door, I'll pull the upholstery all the way around on the back, and then I'll use some other carpet remnants and put a little insert in the back and cover it so it looks nice even when the panel's off. But I'm just going to put some Velcro, little squares, on all four corners, and this panel will pretty much be Velcroed in there. But I'm going to put a little loop for your finger to go in there using the black Alante. I'll spray glue the back side of it and roll the edges on both sides, and then just make a loop out of it and staple it on the back side. So it'll have a nice little finger pull to pull that off there. But anyway, I think with all the detail, the trim and the crest and the dome lights and everything, I think it'll be a pretty nice basic interior upholstery setup. It's real simple, but it'll be very effective, I think, in the looks department. You know what I mean? So the trunk is going to match the interior of the car, meaning the carpet that I have on the floor is cut loop black carpet, just like what's in the car. And then in the trunk inserts up here, these trunks have these little, you know, oddball inserts up there. And originally they had a little sticky insulation crap. My wife's four-door trunk lid is off of her car, so I'm going to bring it in here and turn it upside down, and that's how I'm just going to basically build the panels that fit in her trunk lid, because they're the same trunk lids, and then that way I don't have to be in here trying to fight this with it painted and everything and being on the car. So I'll be able to build those panels and then just spray glue them right to my trunk lid. So basically using her deck lid for the guinea pig for mock-up. So I'm pretty excited about the trunk stuff, but I'm not going to do the trunk until the very last. I'm down to the wire on my days, and I'm pretty sure I can make it. The reality is the only thing left on this car, I've got 17 miles on it, so I know it runs and drives and the brakes work and all that good stuff. The only thing it needs is the hood finished out and painted and then sanded and buffed. It needs the rear seat back upholstered, and I've got most of that ready, and the other seat back for the passenger side front bench upholstered, which I still have to cut foam out, and then I need to finish touching up the driver's side seat back, and then I need to do the seat shells, and I need to do the front door panels. So, you know, probably going to have several days in just that. Probably at least 4 days, I would say, left on the interior upholstery. But anyway, I need to do the interior, I need to do the hood, I need to finish these stupid flippers, which I am absolutely sick of messing with, and I need to change the transmission pan gasket out. I need to take the bolts out of it, take the gasket off, put the new one on, put it back on, and then fill it back up with fluid again. So in reality, there's not a whole lot left, but the upholstery stuff does always take longer than you think it will, or it always takes longer than I think it will. So I said, you know, probably 4 days to do the upholstery. It'll end up being 7. But anyway, if I do not make it to the trunk in time, I'm not going to sweat it. If the trunk's not done, I just won't open the trunk. I don't care. I'm not entering the Fine 9 category. The car's just going to be in the show. And a lot of the cars that are always at that show, the trunks aren't up. So I will have the hood up and all that. But if the judge does want to see the trunk of the car when he's judging it, it's fine, because it looks nice even though I don't have my walls built. It looks really nice even without them. But my floor panel here is, when I made this floor panel, it doesn't go all the way to the end. I don't know if you can see that. It's lacking about that far from going all the way to the end. And the reason is, when the walls come down, there's a couple inches of this underneath that panel. So to me, it looks like I cut it too short and made a mistake, but it's kind of that way on both sides. But if putting the walls in there, you won't know that that's short. But that was the best way to do that. That way you can fit it in the car. You know what I mean? If it was all cut perfectly, it would be a pain in the butt to try to get it finagled into the car. So that's the only part of the trunk I'm ashamed of, is actually that right there, because it looks like I messed up and cut it too short. But if the judge wants to see it, it still looks okay. You know what I mean? But anyway, the hood, the main part of the bodywork is done. I did the work underneath the hood. I've got it in Z-Chrome. I just need to go back and block the top of the hood and the underneath of the hood, put some more primer on it, probably let it cure out for a day or two, and then go back, sand it, and paint them. Which I'm painting the top gloss black, but the bottom's going to be the trim black. So I'll have to let, you know, the top paint cure out a little bit before I tape it off. So The hood is going to take a little bit of time, or at least a few days, because it's going to have to at least cure out for 3 or 4 days probably before I'll be able to start cutting and buffing on it. The good thing is, well, it's not good, but it's winter time, so it's cold, which is going to slow my cure time down. But I do have my wall heater, so I can set that hood right here on sawhorses and let that thing do the cooking, so which will speed up the process. So I may end up doing that and be able to cut and buff it sooner. Now I probably would be working on that hood pretty quick, but it's 18 degrees outside and it's sleeting, so that ain't happening, because I'm not going to be sanding stuff on that hood in this garage and make a big giant mess in here. So all right, well, that is pretty much where I'm at on the car and all that I'm pretty much down to. Now, there was a big fiasco day before yesterday. So you guys have been following along. I was doing the flipper videos, the part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. So in the very last video, I showed some of the pieces that I spray painted for the flippers. So when I come out the next day, it was beautiful outside. The sun was out. Because when I painted all them parts, I did it under the carport in the shade, and then I came in here, into the garage, brought them in here. So it's dark in here because I got a light fixture out. So they didn't look too bad in the dark, we'll say, or in a shaded area. So I picked the parts up and I took them out here in the yard directly in the sun and looked them over real good with my glasses on, and oh boy, it went south quick, let me tell you. I was mad. So I was doing video clips, but I was really irritated in them, and I just didn't want to post them because nobody wants to watch somebody when they're irritated, you know what I mean? Anyway, the backing plates for the flippers, these guys right here, I had spray painted those with semi-gloss black. There was semi-gloss areas, but there was also areas that were gloss black, and it was sticky in those glossy areas. And it was grainy. From front to back, it was grainy. You could tell it was spray painted part. So it just wasn't going to work. And then the little hinges and the brackets, I used stainless steel Duplicolor spray paint. And when I got them out in the sun, I am not kidding, apparently that paint has to be clear coated. So it looked like base coat. It was dull, there was no gloss to them at all, and they looked like a spray painted part. So I come in here and I grabbed a can of Duplicolor aerosol clear engine enamel, and I shot those hinges and brackets a little bit and then took them back out in the sun, and I'm not kidding, they look like bass boat metal flake paint. That ain't gonna work. So I grabbed my blaster here, rolled it out here in the yard, and I grabbed the backing plates and all them parts there, and I blasted everything back to bare metal again. Then I brought them back up here and I etch primed them all, and when the etch prime kicked off, I ended up mixing urethane car paint shot through the spray gun, a little mini touch-up gun. So these ended up getting painted the trim black mixed with urethane reducer, and it's the same stuff I have on my inner fenders, my core support, and some other parts. And now they look fantastic. They have an even sheen and they're smooth. So I'm happy about that. And then the brackets, I was struggling trying to figure out a color. Originally they're gray or zinc or cad plated silver. So I ended up deciding to use the Galaxy Gray Pearl that's on my accent color and my trim and some of the little parts in the car. And that's base coat. So I sprayed them all with base coat, a couple of coats, and then I come back in, cleaned the paint gun, mixed up some urethane clear, put it back in the touch-up gun, and shot them with a couple of coats of clear. So now this is actual car paint. They have a beautiful shine to them and finish, and now they're going to be really, really fantastic. I even polished the back side of the flippers here, the doors, which I haven't polished the inside of these yet, but I'm going to. But anyway, when these flippers are on the car and they're done, if a judge walks up here and shines a pen light under there, they're going to look like $1,000,000. So I actually lost a day going back and redoing all that crap because I'm such a perfectionist, I guess. But I'm glad I did it because now they look like $1,000,000. They don't look like a spray painted cheap job. You know what I mean? So anyway, they're going to look awesome. And I talked about it. I decided to do these plates in black because the felt strip's black, and I just think it looks better. But it has the stainless steel bead on the top of the felt strip, and that black with that stainless on there is just like the car, so it matches in a way. So whoever color matches their flipper hardware to their car, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at on the flippers, and now I'm to the point where I need to finish sanding and polishing on the inside of these. The main parts here, I've got the door pieces polished on the inside, but these two here need to be done. And I still have to dig this felt strip out and then sand this and polish both of those. And then they're pretty much ready to assemble after that. But anyway, I've got to take a break from flippers because I'm tired of messing with them. It's an irritation, you know what I mean? But anyway, there is going to be more videos of that coming. So that's the other thing that I need to do on the car is get those finished, assembled, installed, and operating properly. So hood, flippers, interior, and trunk upholstery, and a transpan gasket. And that's pretty much it. Now, the paint on the car, in case you guys are not familiar with automotive urethane paint, it shrinks. So you can paint something and then turn around, you know, in a short period of time and color sand and buff it, and it'll look like an absolute piece of glass mirror. And within a few months, it's tightened back up and has a little bit of peel to it. The detailers call it dieback. And I actually messaged Mike Phillips, and some of you guys probably heard of him. He's a real famous, he's known for his detailing on cars, high-end paint polishing stuff. I messaged him and talked to him a little bit, and because I've got some of that dieback on the car in places, and I'd kind of like to fix it on the car, but I wasn't really sure how far I needed to go with it. And he told me I could just take some 2500 to it most likely and kind of knock it back down flat a little bit and then just rebuff it. So I don't have to do the entire car. There's just areas of the car. So this car is going to be in that show indoors under those lights. It's going to show everything. So this car has to be on point. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do on that part of it. Now, I will say if I don't have time, I'm not going to worry about going back and sanding and buffing the car. The car presents pretty well. I mean, you got to be real picky to notice some of that stuff, but I was just trying to make it almost perfect, you know, for that show. So just keep in mind, if you ever paint a car in your garage and you go back and color sand and buff it, over time that paint's going to tighten up on you and you're going to have to go back and do it again. So make sure you have enough paint on your car. So anyway, there is a little bitty touch-up things that I'll have to do to the paint, but it's not really a necessity. I can live with it the way it is if I have to, but I would like to do that. The good thing about it is I've seen guys at that show before the show starts actually polishing on their cars. So I might try to do some of that at the show if I'm out of time, basically, but most likely I'm going to have time. It's the days that I have left, now it's down to the 12, 14, 15-hour days, and I got no problem with that. And that's just what I usually do anyway. But, you know, wait till I get down to the wire and then it's go, go, go. So anyway, the trunk is like, it's not a necessity to have it for the show, but I'd like to have it done. But anyway, I'm going to go in there and go ahead and order the dome light lenses and this and get that going. So anyway, what else? Is there anything else? I don't think there is. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. Video's long enough. That's your update to where I'm at now and what's left and all that. There will be more videos coming out on flipper stuff. And I'm also going to have some videos of upholstery coming out. And I'm probably going to do that in a series like I'm doing the flippers. But I'm not going to worry about making those videos and getting them posted and all that on the upholstery until after the show. Because I'm going to have to sit down so long and edit these clips and stuff together. You'll get to see a little bit here and there, but I'll do more in depth. I've got a whole bunch of videos in the computer already from like even a year or two ago from when I started doing upholstery stuff. So I want to get everything put in there together, and it's just going to be a lot of good tips for the amateur DIY guys like myself doing pre-sewn seat covers in their car. So in case you don't know, if you have a Tri-5 Chevy, instead of taking your seats and dropping them off and having them upholstered and paying that big price, you can buy a pre-sewn seat cover set that fits the factory seats and just hog ring them on yourself. And you can buy the foam kit and all that kind of stuff and just put the seat covers on yourself to save money. I've done quite a few seat covers through the years. To me, it's just a little bit easier and faster way and cheaper to do the seats. But I have learned a few little tips that might help some of you guys out that's never done it before. I'm not an upholstery expert, let me make that clear. I can do really, really nice flat panels like door panels and stuff like that. The seat covers I struggle with, but it's something that I just keep messing with them, you know, taking the hog rings out and working and stretching until I get them where I like them. So anyway, another series of that coming out. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching.